So let's start with etude number 8 in C major. This is a very funny piece to play, although there are some confusing spots. And in order to manage them, we have to understand the principle. We have to understand how it is composed. So again, we have to shift our thinking, we have to shift our perceiving of this music. We don't think in metrical groups 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, because that might be, first of all, it will sound a bit mechanical, but secondly, it's actually more difficult to memorize the piece this way. So what we have to do is to think in motifs, separate the first note, and then from E, 4 notes, and you see, you just shift the position 1 key lower. That's it. And as soon as you think like that, just shifting the position 4 fingers, it's very easy to learn it. And then you have another 2 bars. Same thing. In the left hand, it's even simpler. You see, you move always 1/3 lower, from E, from C, from A, and then a dominant 7th chord towards C major. Now let's try to combine this. The first octave, you might see that the upper note is in brackets. This is for students with a small hand who can't freely take the octave. So if you have a small hand, if you can't grasp the octave, just play the lower note. Of course, shaping is important. So first of all, finger release. So we don't lift the fingers, but we just transfer the weight, releasing all the fingers that don't work. That's a very important habit. I keep telling about that because this is not a good way to play piano in general, lifting the fingers and holding the weight of the hand, keeping tension in fingers. So we have to release all parts of the arm and transfer the weight with a good support in the knuckles, with a neutral position of the wrist. The wrist is flexible. All support goes to the knuckles and to the last joint of the finger. So when you learn, it's also useful to work on that pulling sensation, kind of sliding sensation, and also bouncing, gently bouncing with the wrist in order to train that stability in the finger and release in the hand, in the wrist, in the arm. And then, of course, shaping. So first, I would suggest you to play with breaks. So play the first note, release the hand, and then approach the next group with one rounded motion of the wrist. And you have to feel how you transfer the weight from the 4th finger to the thumb. So you see, there are always some rounded, small, tiny rounded motions. Of course, we have forte, but this forte, we reach it hitting the keys quickly, but without tension. So that strength in the sound, it comes not from the tension, not from the muscle effort, but from a quick hit on the key. Now, musically speaking, we have to provide enough expressiveness in the left hand. Pom, pom, pom. Last note is lighter and shorter. Pa, pa, pom, pa, pa, pom. And then, very, very, very important rule, whenever we have a tense chord, for example, a dominant 7th chord, we mark it, especially marking the 7th tone. So marking a dominant 7th chord, and the resolution of it should always be played softer. So this is not a correct way to play this combination. This is a correct way to play this combination. So boom. And then same thing, and the fingers are always the same. And then from the bar number 5, we start our passages upwards. But still, we have to think in groups following the logic of motives. 3 notes, always from the lower note. Here's a tension 2, 1, 2, 3, or 2, 1, 3, 4, also possible. So on the C sharp, we have to use the second finger. So in the score, you have a very good fingering, but it's important to learn in motives. Don't learn like that, because it will only confuse you. You have to learn following the motives from the lower note, like that. And so on. And it might be a little bit confusing. Well, nothing terrible. You can manage it, I believe, in you. But we just have to understand the logic. Why we have sharps sometimes, like here. Why we have those chromatics here. This is because our right hand is connected with our left hand. It is connected with the harmony. So here, B and D are harmonic notes. They refer to the dominant 7th chord in the left hand. You see, this is dominant 7th chord, and a resolution towards C major. And then we have a small modulation. So C sharp and E are harmonic sounds. This is our dominant 7th chord towards D minor. So, and then same thing. So you have to recognize these harmonic sounds in the right hand and how they refer to the left hand. F major. Dominant 7th chords towards G major. Dominant 7th chord towards A minor. So it's really useful to play a harmonic skeleton first in order to understand the harmonic progression. 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 1, 3, 2, 4, 2, 4. You see, and also here, this is still our dominant 7th chord inverted. Still C major, although already with a touch of G major because of that F sharp. And here we end up with the dominant 7th chord to G major. So first understanding the chord progression and so on. And then working on motives, making small breaks between them in order to reflect on the logic of this spot. And then also remembering that golden rule of dominant 7th chord, that the resolution is always softer. So tenuto on the 7th, softer resolution. You have the fingering in the score. I would suggest to just follow it. So at the end we have starting softer, crescendo, and we end up with forte. At this last point, we don't make much diminuendo because we want to finish on forte note. That would be too cheesy for that spot. But nevertheless, not accenting. This would be too rude. We can't play like that. And then quickly releasing the fingers. And again, I have to repeat myself, shaping. So always good support on the thumb. Pom pom, pom pom, pom pom, pom pom. So physiologically speaking, the thumb is always a leaning point. Pom pom. And small circles in the wrist. Don't exaggerate that, just try to find a comfortable amount. That should be enough. Just a tiny movement.